Hello my dear students. Today we are going to discuss GMains 2020 January 8 Shift 2 Physics paper. Let us begin. The first question is a uniform sphere of mass 500 grams rolls on a horizontal surface with center of mass moving with speed 5 centimeter per second and its kinetic energy is. The question is from rotational dynamics. It's a very simple question. You know, during rolling without slipping, the total kinetic energy of the rolling body is the sum of translational kinetic energy and rotational kinetic energy. Okay, that we have learned one shortcut for that, that is total kinetic energy E is equal to half m v square plus half I omega square, where I is the moment of inertia. Let us bring about that shortcut. Half m v square plus half the general expression for moment of inertia of any body is m k square while rolling into omega square is v square by r square, and that shortcut looks like this: half mv square into 1 plus k square by r square. Okay, the term k square by r square is written as beta. Okay, so let us write that term k square by r square as beta. Beta varies for different bodies which are rolling. Beta for a uniform sphere, beta for a uniform sphere is 2 by 5. Beta sphere is equal to 2 by 5. Students, do you know how did you get it? You can get value of beta for any rolling bodies about some axis like this. You can equate mk square as the moment of inertia of that body about its rolling axis. About the rolling axis, that means about the diametrical axis of the sphere, its moment of inertia is 2 by 5 mr square. And you cancel m and you get k square by r square as 2 by 5. Thus we get beta as 2 by 5 for a solid sphere. Like this for any bodies, you can get into the value of beta by equating that moment of inertia about that axis as equal to mk square. Okay, here like that we got beta for solid sphere as 2 by 5, for hollow sphere it is 2 by 3, for a ring it is 1, for a disk it is 1 by 2, right? Now, total energy is equal to half mv square into 1 plus beta, where mass is 500 gram, that means half kilogram, into v is given 5 centimeter per second. So speed square 5 square becomes 25. Students, don't forget to convert the units. Centimeter square converted into meter square, multiply by 10 power minus 4 into 1 plus what is k square by r square beta, that is 2 by 5. Okay, thus you get the answer apple. So on solving this, you get the answer 8.75 into 10 power minus 4 joules. It's a very simple question for rotational dynamics. Don't forget this shortcut formula and how we arrived at this. And like this, you can get in to the solutions in detail if you stay with us. Okay, let us move to the next one, second one. An object is gradually moving away from a concave mirror's focal point along the axis of the mirror. The graphical representation of the magnitude of linear magnification versus the object distance is correctly. The question is from the second year topic. Chapter is geometrical optics. Graphs are shown schematically and not to the scale. 4 options are there. We have to identify. Okay. First of all, we have to know the formula for magnification. Everybody knows the formula for magnification of a mirror. A spherical mirror, its magnification m is given by f divided by f minus u. U is the object distance here. That object distance is x. As for a concave mirror, focal length is negative, x is also, u is also negative, so need not put the sign conventions here. you get the same equation if you put sign conventions also. So I wrote m is equal to f by f minus u, nothing but m equal to f by f minus x, where x is said to be the object distance. Okay, and we have another formula for magnification, which is m is equal to minus v by u. Another one is m is equal to f minus v by f, all that you remember this time. Anyway, here we need to apply the formula for magnification in terms of focal length as well as the object distance. Here object distance is given as x. From this simple equation, you can recognize the answer. How? In each of the answers, the values of x's are mentioned, not up to the scale, but only schematic. Anyway, let us go for option C, which is going to be the right answer. Okay, anyway, I'm saving time. For that, x is equal to 2f. We put x is equal to 2f. Put x is equal to 2f, what happens? X is equal to 2f, you get m is equal to 1 or minus 1. Okay, and the magnitude of magnification, that means you need not consider the negative side. So magnification is 1. So when x is equal to 2f, m should have its value 1. So answer C corresponds, but is there anything else? Yes, option D also for 2f 1 comes. Okay, so 2 chances. So let us go for the next method to find that. You substitute x is equal to f. You substitute x is equal to f, what happens? F by f minus f. That means m becomes f by 0. That means m becomes infinity. Magnification becomes infinity. Magnification becomes infinity. Okay, therefore, which is the answer? Magnification becomes infinity. Here it is not infinity, it has some finite value. You can see here, if this value comes here, for f is equal to x is equal to f, the value is not infinity for m. Okay, thus the answer must be C. Okay, so remember this very important equation for magnification. Also we have learned m is equal to minus v by u, m is equal to f minus v by f. The third one, m is equal to f by f minus u, where u is here x. Okay, then next we move to the next one. 3. The transverse wave travels through a taut straight steel wire with velocity v, and its tension is 2.06 into 10 power 4 Newton. When the tension is changed to T, the velocity has become halved, that is v by 2. The value of tension is very close to. The question is from first year topic. Chapter is waves. We are very familiar with this topic, the velocity of transverse waves in a stretched string. We have learned the equations for that from textbook. The equation I will quote here: V is equal to square root of T divided by mu. We have several times used this. T is the tension in the stretched wire. Mu is the linear density or linear mass or mass per unit length. Here V is the velocity of the transverse wave set up in this wire. Right? How velocity varies with the tension? It's very clear. The velocity is proportional to square root of tension. So the tension is proportional to square of velocity. Is very simple one. Tension is proportional to square of velocity. What happened to the velocity? Velocity is halved. When velocity is halved, tension should necessarily be 1/4. That means when velocity is halved, tension becomes 1/4. Students, how do you know this happens? Velocity is halved. Velocity appears in its square power. So halved means 1 by 2 whole square. So tension should have 1/4 value. So this is the easy method to get into the answer. Need not write any ratios or something like that. 1/4. So tension should become 1/4. What was the initial tension? Initial tension was 2.06 into 10 power 4. You have to get the 1/4 of that would be the tension finally. That implies nearly 200 by 4 is 500. So the answer should start with 5. No need of any calculation. So options also for getting is very simple. So the answer is box. No need of getting into the answer correctly. Answer is box. Okay, is it clear? We move to the fourth one. Question number 4. Consider a mixture of n moles of helium gas and 2n moles of oxygen gas. Molecules are taken to be rigid as an ideal gas. What is the ratio of Cp by Cv? Students, you know Cp by Cv means gamma. Gamma is equal to Cp by Cv. What is the ratio of specific heats of the mixture of two ideal gases? Okay, the method used must be the energy conservation method. Okay, when two gases, ideal gases are mixed together at a particular temperature, the internal energy is the sum of internal energies of each. Based on that, you can get into the formula for the mixed gamma. Mixed gamma means Cp by Cv. Cp by Cv means gamma. What is the gamma for the mixer? Gamma for mixer is equal to N1 Cp1 plus N2 Cp2 divided by N1 Cv1 plus N2 Cv2. Okay, this is arrived from the fact that total internal energy of the mixer U is equal to U1 plus U2. Okay, write the equation for internal energy in terms of Cv, that is mu CVT. Okay, write it there. Then you will get the Cv mixer is equal to N1 Cv1 plus N2 Cv2 by N1 plus N2. Okay, therefore Cp mixer is equal to N1 Cp1 plus N2 Cp2 divided by N1 plus N2. Then Cp mixer divided by Cv mixer will give you gamma mixer. Like that only we arrived into this. You may try that also. Equal to, what is N1? N1 is N moles of helium, that is N. Helium, as you know, is a monatomic gas. So the Cp, value of Cp is 5 by 2 R. 5 by 2 R plus N2 given 2N moles of oxygen. So N2 is 2N and Cp2 is, what is Cp2? That is specific heated constant pressure for oxygen. Oxygen, as you know, is a diatomic one. Its Cp value is 7 by 2 R. Students, all you need to know these factors. N1 Cv1. N1 is N. What is Cv1 specific heated constant? Volume for a monatomic gas helium, that is 3 by 2 R. So here it comes 3 by 2 R. As monatomic gas has 3 degrees of freedom, this 3 appears here. Okay. The next one, 2N moles are there, but that is a diatomic gas. Diatomic gas, what is the value of Cv? Is 5 by 2 R. Okay, and you cancel N, R, all that, and you get the answer 19 by 30. So answer is option A. 19 by 13, you may try that, the calculation part. Okay, we move to the next one, 5. Question number 5 is based on this figure. The question is asked from first year topic, rotational dynamics. When the spherical cavity centered at O of radius 1 is cut from a uniform sphere of radius R which is centered at C, the center of mass of the remaining shaded part of the sphere is at G. It is given that when some cavities, uniform cavity is removed from a uniform sphere, the center of gravity shifts to the left and it has become at G. And G happens to be at the surface of the removed cavity, right? The 3 points are mentioned. O is the center of the cavity, C is the center of the initial sphere at the beginning before removing, G is the center of gravity after shifting. After shifting, the center of gravity has shifted to G. Students, you have an easy method for this by using C frame. You have heard of center of mass frame of reference. Center of mass frame of reference is that frame of reference where the origin is supposed to be situated at the center of mass. Okay, origin is at the center of mass. If origin is at the center of mass, our equation for position vector of center of mass would find a reduced form. Let us go for that. Our equation will be like this, that position vector of center of mass RCM is equal to, that is M1 R1 plus M2 R2 divided by M1 plus M2. Okay, in C frame, RCM becomes 0. You know, in C frame, RCM is 0, VCM is 0, momentum also 0. So C frame is also called as zero momentum frame. Center of mass frame is also called a zero momentum frame. So I am telling you several facts related to this. RCM is 0, so that you can write M1 R1 is equal to M2 R2 numerically. M1R1 is equal to M2R2. M1R1 is equal to M2R2 numerically. M1R1 equal to, of course, minus M2R2. Numerically, only M1R1 equal to M2R2. This should be satisfied here. How? Here, C is the center of mass of the sphere before removing. So, about C is the center of mass initially. So, about C, you should satisfy this because we are keeping the origin of our coordinate system at C. If our coordinate system has its origin at C, position vector of center of mass happens to be 0. Therefore, the mass of the removed one may be M1. Okay. Then the distance from the center of mass to O, that is the position vector, may be R1. Similarly, mass of the body after removing is the mass of that shaded portion, that is M2. Mass of the shaded portion there in the question, M2, and this distance as R2. Let us substitute, that is M1R1 is equal to M2R2, but masses are not given. But you know, density is uniform. So, mass per unit volume is a constant. That means M1 is equal to mass per unit volume. What is mass per unit volume? Density rho. Mass per unit volume into volume of that. What is the volume of that removed sphere? Volume of the removed sphere is nothing but 4/3 pi into 1 cube, right? So, mass of the removed portion is M1 is equal to mass per unit volume into its volume. Okay. Similarly, what is M2? Mass per unit volume into what is the volume of the remaining portion? Remaining portion has a volume, total volume, you can get total minus the removed one, right? That is into 4/3 pi into, what is the total volume? It gets 4/3 pi r cube, 4/3 pi r cube. Okay, what is the removed volume? Removed volume is 4/3 pi 1 cube, and this will be the mass of the removed portion. Is it very clear? Now, no need of spending this much of time. It is an easy one. I am explaining to you, that is why. Okay, it will not take this much of time. So you can easily solve practicing this method, applying this to several other situations. Okay. It is given that this R2 is this one. It is given the shifted center of mass is at G, that is at the surface, that is given. That is why R2 can be written as 2 minus R from the figure. Similarly, R1 can be written as R minus 1 from the figure. So, R2 is 2 minus R, R2 is 2 minus R. Okay, see, here to here is R, here to here is R, here to here is also R. So, that is R plus R is 2R, total is 2R. Okay, then what is this? Here to here 1, here to here also 1. That is why 2R, 2 minus R will be that distance. Therefore, M1 is what? Rho into 4/3 pi into 1 cube. Okay, need not write. Into, what is R1? R1 is R minus 1 equal to, what is M2? M2 is also found rho into 4/3 pi into R cube minus 1 cube, right? R cube minus 1, need not write 1 cube, R cube minus 1. Okay, into R2. What is R2? That is 2 minus R. From this, rho and 4/3 pi cancels from both sides, so that you can get R minus 1 equal to R cube minus 1 into 2 minus R. Now, rearranging, you can check for the options. Here, which would be the answer correct? Which answer would be correct? You can easily see this will be the correct answer. Because, this R cube minus 1 can be written as the R cube 1 minus R minus 1 is equal to 2 minus R times R square plus R plus 1. It can be written as R square plus R plus 1 into R minus 1. And this R minus 1 gets cancelled from both sides, so that R square plus R plus 1 into 2 minus R is equal to 1. And that will be the equation connecting all these. So, what principle we have used? we have used the concept of center of mass. Okay, we've solved this problem based on C frame, center of mass frame. Okay, you can try similar problems like this. We move to the next one, question number 6. This is from logic gates, semiconductors and communication, last portion. In the given circuit, the value of the output Y is. How many gates are there? The first gate is a NOT gate. Okay, what is the output? So similar in such cases, if the Boolean expressions are not mentioned in options, it is easy to go with the values. Here 1, here NOT gate, so it comes 0. Okay, then here also 0 as the input is short circuited. Here it is a NOT gate, so input of NOT gate is 0, so this will be 1. Okay, so continuing like that. Okay, then this is 0, so here 0. Okay, then this one 0 0, it is a NAND gate, NAND 0 0, NAND gives what? 1, so that 1 shorted here, so 1 is also a NAND gate. 0 and 1 for NAND, what happens? 0 and 1 for NAND is 1. So 1 1 again NAND gate, 1 1 NAND gate, it comes 0. 1 1 NAND gate, it comes 0, so answer is apple. Okay, no need of going for Boolean algebra and all. 7th one. A Carnot engine having efficiency 1/10 is used as a refrigerator. That is called a Carnot refrigerator. From first year topic, the question is asked from thermodynamics. If the work done on refrigerator is 10 joule, amount of heat absorbed from the reservoir at lower temperature is. Let me draw the schematic diagram for that. The diagram looks like this. This is the working substance for a refrigerator. You see, it is a refrigerator and it's a Carnot refrigerator. Then the temperature is T2. This is the freezer or low temperature reservoir. This is the high temperature reservoir, that is the condenser part of the refrigerator, that is the high temperature reservoir. High temperature, that is T1. High temperature is T1. This is low temperature and T2, and these lines also signifies what? This is the amount of heat Q2 extracted from the cold reservoir. Here is the amount of heat Q1 rejected to the hot reservoir. This is the work done performed by the external agency. In a refrigerator, it is the electrical energy, electrical work done by the electric force, that is W. Okay, from this, the coefficient of performance alpha is equal to output by input. What is output here? Output is Q2. Listen, it is not Q1, because a good refrigerator is that which extracts more heat from the freezer and makes it cool one. So the good fridge should have a well cold region inside the freezer. That means the more amount of heat should be extracted. So Q2 should be very large. Divided by work should be minimum, small work. Okay, very little energy is consumed for that. That is input. Input is W. So Q2 by W. That means here what is asked? The amount of heat absorbed from the reservoir at low temperature means Q2 is asked. That is Q2 is equal to alpha times W. Q2 is equal to alpha times W. Students, it's very important formula. Okay, it's very easy one and simple. It will not take more than 1 minute, but I am explaining, that is why it takes more time. Okay, now come back to the heat engine or a Carnot engine. Okay, Carnot engine has efficiency. Carnot engine has efficiency eta is equal to 1 minus T2 by T1, we know. Then all over, the question is based on the connection between Carnot engine and also a Carnot refrigerator. So we have to connect these two. Let us connect and write an equation as a shortcut. Then that equation will serve you all the time. Now here T2 by T1 is equal to 1 minus eta. Okay, so this alpha can be written as, Q2 by W. For a Carnot refrigerator, if it is a Carnot refrigerator, it can be T2 divided by T1 minus T2. where here W is equal to Q1 minus Q2. W is equal to Q1 minus Q2, as everyone knows. And for a Carnot refrigerator, it must be W equal to T1 minus T2 can be written like this: alpha equal to T2 by T1 minus T2. This can also be written as T2 by T1 divided by 1 minus T2 by T1. That can be T2 by T1 is 1 minus eta, 1 minus eta divided by 1 minus 1 minus eta. So we got the answer alpha as 1 minus eta divided by this 1 minus 1 cancels, minus of minus eta becomes plus eta. Now this relation, students, you by heart it. Alpha equal to 1 minus eta by eta is a very important one. And also this one. These two equations only you need to know for finding the answer. I explained all this because it is to be used by a beginner also. Okay. Alpha equal to 1 minus eta by eta. Here, what is the value of eta? Here, eta is equal to 1 by 10, that is 0.1. So 1 minus 0.1 by 0.1, that is 0.9 by 0.1. So you got alpha as 9. So we got alpha as 9. Okay. Right? Then what is eta? Eta is 0.1. Then we got Q2 as Q2 is equal to alpha times work done. What is the work done? Work done on the refrigerator is 10 joule, means work done is positive. Work done on the refrigerator is positive, that is 10 joule. That means the answer must be 90 joule. Then the option is dog. It's very simple one, but really it takes less time, nearly 1 minute. If you know this alpha equal to 1 minus eta by eta, also you know Q2 equal to alpha times W. Anyway, I have given you a better revision for refrigerator as well as Carnot engine. Students, like this, if you are staying with us, watching each and every questions, you will get many concepts revision. Okay. The next one is question number 8. In double slit experiment, at a certain point on the screen, the path difference between two interfering waves is 1/8 of the wavelength. The ratio of intensity of light at that point to that the center of bright fringe is. The question is from second year topic, wave optics. Okay, we have learned for coherent addition between two coherent sources. Two waves coming from two coherent sources, the waves can be added coherently, giving out the result I is equal to I max times cos square phi by 2, where phi is the phase difference. Phi is the phase difference between these two coherent waves. Okay, also you know the relation between phase difference and path difference, that is phi is equal to 2 pi by lambda times delta, where delta is the path difference. So phi is the phase difference and delta as the path difference. The very important equation and well known one, phi is equal to 2 pi by lambda times delta. Okay, here the path difference which is delta, that is equal to 1/8 of wavelength. It is given as the data. So let us choose the value of phi for the corresponding one into lambda by 8. Students, you know lambda cancels, 2 and 8 cancels, then phi you get pi by 4. Okay. Then I is equal to I max cos square phi by 2. We are asked I by I max. That is I by I max equal to cos square phi by 2. Many students make mistake here. You have to be careful there because phi by 2 appears there. Students forget that. Okay, so it's pi by 4, phi by 2 is pi by 8. So very important, cos square pi by 8 is the answer. Students are very comfortable search getting into cos pi by 4. Cos pi by 4, everyone knows what is cos pi by 4. Cos pi by 4 is cos 45. Cos 45 is nothing but 1 by root 2, that is 0.707. Everyone knows that value. Okay, 0.707 and all, and students may possibly go for this. That answer is not there. But the problem is that cos square phi by 2. Cos square phi by 2. Also, it is not cos square pi. Cos square pi by 8. Okay. So, the value of pi by 8, it should be when the angle increases, cosine function decreases. When the angle decreases, the cosine function increases. The angle is much less than pi by 4 because it is pi by 8, roughly half. Okay, therefore, this value should be sufficiently greater, should not be lesser That is why this is not the answer. This is not the answer. It should be sufficiently larger than 0.707. So it is not this one. Then the answer is A. Okay. Otherwise, you should know the method for getting into the value correctly. Students, you have learned it in mathematics, but it will also take time. But better way is by discarding the answers which are options which are not possible. Okay, this is the best method. Also, you have learned the method to find out the value of cos pi by 8. Okay, by some mathematical identities. You may choose that also, right? Now we move to question number 9. Very long wire ABD, M and DC is shown in figure carrying current I. AB and BC parts are straight, long and at right angle, that is shown in the figure. At D, the wire forms a circular turn DMND, that is also mentioned, and it carries a current in anti-clockwise sense. It is of radius R. AB and BC parts are tangential. AB and BC parts are tangential to circular turn at N and D. That means BN and BD are tangents to the circles. That means the BN and BD are two sides of a adjacent sides of a square, so that the angle made by this hypotenuse or that diagonal is 45. That means that is the angle bisector, so that angle is 45 degree. That is mentioned indirectly in this question paper. So what is the magnetic field at the center of circle? So the radius of that circle will be equal to BD, that is equal to ND, that is equal to the radius of the circle. Okay. Here you should know, students, the equation for magnetic field due to a finite wire, that we have learned and derived that equation using Biot-Savart law. Okay, and let me explain to you what is the equation for that. Okay, the equation for finding magnetic field at the point O, due to this straight finite wire carrying a current I at a point O which is at a distance small r, and this angle is 90. That means small r is the perpendicular distance or minimum separation between this wire and the point O. Equation is recalled here: mu 0 I by 4 pi r into sine phi 1 plus sine phi 2. This angle may be noted as phi 1 and this phi 2. How do you get phi 1 and phi 2? For that, you draw two lines from the point O to the extremities of the wire. Draw line from O to the top extreme, angle phi 1 made with the vertical. Draw line from O to the lower extremity, angle phi 2 made with its vertical. Phi 1 and phi 2. Like this, you have to see those angles and the orientations and directions of magnetic fields at these similar problems. In every similar problems, you can apply the same. That is why I am discussing a general solution to this. Let us divide this entire wire into three segments. The first one is a vertical one whose lower end is at infinity, carrying current I. Let it be called one segment. At this point, the wire bends sharply towards right, okay, and carries the same current I. On reaching this point, the current is taking a circular turn in the anti-clockwise direction. Of course, the magnitude is same. After that, it continues to go to infinity horizontally over this wire shown. And let this be the second segment. So first and second segments are at right angles. First segment is an infinite wire. Second segment is also an infinite wire from one side only. First wire has infinity lower, but here finite. Second wire infinity to the right, but here it is finite. Okay. The third segment is going to be the circular one. The wire is of radius r, so this distance is also r. Okay. This distance r, the wire has radius. Radius of the wire is equal to distance of the straight wires from the point O. Okay, so several concepts are to be applied. First, we write the formula for magnetic field due to the circular one, that may be B3. What is B3? B3, field due to circular coil at its center. We have learned from textbook mu 0 I divided by 2R, mu 0 I by 2R. That can be written in terms of mu 0 I by 4 pi R. How? Multiply and divide by 2 pi simply. Please don't delete now. That is equal to mu 0 I divided by 4 pi R into 2 pi. That is the equation for B3, not B1, sorry, B3. B3 is the third one, that is the circular one, right? What is the direction of magnetic field due to the circular wire? Hold right hand and the fingers curling along current, thumb pointing along field. Right hand rule is applied there. So the thumb is pointing away from the board, that is B3 is directed outward. Outward conventionally imply point, a point. So that point with a circle implies field is outward normally. That is B3. What about B1? B1 is a straight wire whose one end is at infinity, other end is finite. Okay. Then what happens? Here, if this end is infinity, the line which you draw from O to that extremity would tend to go up to infinity. That means that angle phi 2 should be measured as 90 degree. That means at the lower extremity, the angle measured at O should be 90 degree, right? So for writing B1, that is mu naught I by 4 pi R into sine phi 1 or sine phi 2, whatever. Let this be phi 2, that angle is 90, sine 90 is 1. Sine 90 is 1, okay? Then, what about the other extremity? But the problem here is that this should be the perpendicular distance. This extreme should be the perpendicular, but it is not reaching up to there. It is only up to here. That means we expect this wire is extending up to here, like this. We expect this wire is extending up to here, so that this angle measured here would be 0 degree. How? You draw a line from O to that point, then that angle phi 1 will be 0, because this line will come down, so that this part is shortened and it reaches here. This angle phi 1 becomes 0. That means that angle is 0. Sine 0 is 0. So no relevance, no need to write there. Okay, what about the other angle here? This angle is 45, that is indirectly mentioned in the question paper, that is 45. Okay, therefore we have to subtract that sine of that angle, that is sine 45 is 1 by root 2. Students, you need not wonder how I wrote 1 by root 2 there, it is sine 45. So in similar equations you have to do like this. First of all, you expect the wire to be extending up to here, therefore you get mu 0 I by 4 pi R. That is a straight wire whose one end is infinity. So by heart, for any straight wire whose one end is infinity, the field is mu naught I by 4 pi R. Okay, and that is written. Then this angle is but 45 degree, then subtract that angle if this much is to be deleted from that. That is mu 0 I by 4 pi R into 1 minus 1 by root 2. The next one is B2. B2 is equal to mu naught I divided by 4 pi R. Once again, this is B2, the straight wire. It's almost looking like this. This is vertical, this is horizontal, that's all. And this is giving a field mu naught I by 4 pi R into 1 minus 1 by root 2. And this will give you a field mu naught I by 4 pi R into 1 plus 1 by root 2. Students, you think why I wrote like this? Because here, this much part field was to be removed, but here, from here to here mu 0 I by 4 pi R is there, but here to here extra field is there, that is to be added. But what field is removed in the first case is added in the second case, that's all. So similar problems you may handle like this. It is easily solved if you go like this. Now we have the three fields, directions are to be known. B1, current is upward, straight current, thumb will show current, fingers field. So fingers curl at O inward, so B1 is inward. See, B3 was outward. What about B2? B2 also is a straight current. Hold thumb along that, fingers curl upward. So feel that O due to second wire is outward. So B2 is outward. See, B2 and B3 both outward. Outward fields are to be added. B1 is the inward one, subtract. So add the B2 and B3. That is B2 plus B3, add same direction. Then you subtract the B1 and that will be the resultant field. That means you need to add all these as mentioned by these symbols and you will get what answer. The answer, you can see the answer, mu naught I by 2 pi r into pi plus 1 by root 2 will be the answer. Mu naught I by 2 pi r into pi plus 1 by root 2 will be the answer. Okay. The next one, question number 10 will be the next one. A particle of mass m is dropped from height h above the ground. At the same time, another particle of same mass is thrown vertically upwards from the ground with a speed of root 2 gh. If they collide head-on completely inelastically, problem is collision completely inelastic. After completely inelastic collision, the bodies stick together, okay, and become one entity and acquire a common velocity. What is the time taken for the combined mass to reach ground in the units of root h by g? It's not so simple, but we can solve it simply. How? Let me use the diagram so far I made. The first body is it is of mass m, dropped from rest. That means initial velocity 0, dropped from rest. So it falls down on a line due to acceleration, due to gravity. At the same time, at t equal to 0, instantaneously the body B of same mass is thrown up with speed root 2 gh is the speed with which it was thrown up. You know, certainly if they are in a line, they would collide after some time. At what time they collide? The time of collision. It's very important, the time of collision. We have done in several problems that time of collision can be given by the relative initial separation divided by relative initial velocity. What is the relative initial separation? That is h, which is the height, okay, of the tower. What is the initial relative velocity? Velocity of A is 0, dropped at rest. Velocity of B is root 2 gh. So relative initial velocity has magnitude root 2 gh. That means time of collision T is equal to what is the initial separation? H. What is the initial relative velocity? Root 2 gh, and this happens to be the time. That can also be written as square root of h by 2g. Is very important result here. Okay, solving this big problem, you can have small or little concepts there, which gives you confidence in getting into another big solutions. Okay, so it's very important to stay with us during the problem. Don't go anywhere. T is equal to root of h by 2g. That is the time of collision. Okay. Now, what happens afterwards? After some time, what happens? It reaches here and collides. After collision, both sticks together and falls down together. Okay. Now, in every collisions, we know momentum is conserved. Okay. By using momentum conservation, we can find out the velocity of the combined system after the collision. We know velocity of the combination is same because both the bodies will stick together forming a single entity. So the velocity is common to both after collision. So in every collision, we apply momentum conservation here to get the common velocity. Okay. The formula for common velocity that we have learned from NCERT text first year, chapter work power energy, that is common velocity. V common is equal to m1 u1 plus m2 u2 divided by m1 plus m2, and this is the formula used, V common. Here what is u1? u1 is the velocity with which A collides with B. u2 is the velocity with which B collides with A. So u1 and u2 are those speeds just before collision takes place. So first of all, we have to find out u1 and u2, and also you know m1 is equal to m2 given identical. So we common equation reduces that u1 plus u2 by 2. Okay, what is the formula for u1? What is u1? u1 is the speed with which A hits B. What is the state of A before collision? Before collision, A was dropped from rest. It was accelerating down with constant acceleration due to gravity. So you can use kinematic equation as acceleration is a constant. That means velocity v is equal to u plus at can be used. U is 0, initial velocity 0, drop from rest. At, A is g, and time of collision after which it collides is h divided by root 2 gh, and that velocity becomes like this. This equation will be looking like this because u1 is equal to v is equal to u plus at, that means u0 dropped from rest, acceleration is acceleration due to gravity into time after which collision takes place, time of travel of A from initial state to the collision state is t. T is found already root of h by 2g or h by root 2gh, whatever can be used, and this will be that. Okay, that is root of, what will be that? Root of g also cancels here, root g, that is root of gh divided by 2 will be u1, right? So u1 is equal to root of gh by 2, right? Similarly, you try to find u2. What is u2? But u2, the problem is that u2 is not at rest initially, u2 is thrown up. What is the velocity? Root 2gh. So again you use v equal to u plus at, but u is root 2gh. Root 2gh, acceleration, it is going to be speeding down, that is retardation, minus g. V equal to u plus at. A is minus g t. Time of collision is also same time, because both projected together. So each takes same time before collision. So this equation for same time is used here, that is h divided by root 2gh. So g into h by root 2gh is root gh by 2. So root 2gh minus root gh by 2, that is root gh into root 2 minus 1 by root 2, root 2 minus 1 by root 2, root gh into root 2 minus 1 by root 2. I am writing here, that implies root gh into this, taking LCM, root 2 into root 2, 2 minus 1 is 1, 1 by root 2. That means root of gh by 2 comes there. What do you mean by that? u1 and u2, u1 is root gh by 2, u2 again root gh by 2. That means, that implies u1 is equal to u2 numerically. u1 and u2 are numerically same. That means just before collision, A and B possesses equal speeds, but their directions are opposite. As their directions are opposite, while finding the common velocity, u1 is downward if taken as positive, u2 is upward, that should be taken as negative. So u1 minus u2 should be there in this actual equation. This is the vector equation where you wrote u1 plus u2 by 2. So the common velocity is equal to u1 minus u2 by 2. Why minus? You know, u1 is downward and u2 is upward. So these velocities are to be subtracted. That becomes 0. Why 0? Because u1 is equal to u2. So common velocity happens to be 0. What do you mean by that? Soon after the collision, the bodies A and B sticks together and comes to rest instantaneously. So soon after the collision, both the bodies sticks together and comes to rest. After coming to rest, it cannot no longer stay there. Due to gravity, it falls down as if it is dropped from some height. That means it falls down vertically downward and will reach the some time on ground. What is that time? That is asked. Okay, then the total height is h. In what time? In what time? Time of flight. What is the time of flight if A is dropped from the top and reaches ground? Root of 2h by g. We know time for free fall. Root 2h by g is the time taken by A to reach ground after traveling a distance h. Okay, then what much time A has covered before collision? Before collision, A has covered this much of time. It's very important, listen, that concept. What is that time? Root of h by 2g. That is root of h by 2g divided by root of 2h by g will be the fraction of time possessed by A before collision. Okay, okay, I'll tell it simply. If the collision was not taking place, A would have fallen down here and the time is root 2h by g. Let that time be Tf, time of flight. But it collides, that is why A alone does not fall down. They together only falls down. Okay, so what is the time taken by A to reach here? That time is the collision time, root of h by 2g. What is that? What time A has taken? A has taken this much of time, that on cancellation this h by g cancels and you get this ratio as square root of 1 by 2 into 1 by 2, that is root 1 by 4, that is 1 by 2. What do you mean by that? A has taken exactly half the time before collision, comparing with that it falls down without collision. So if A falls down in 1 second, A undergoes collision in half seconds. That means time taken for collision of A is half that time taken by any body to fall freely from that height to ground. Okay, then if this height is, that is very important, this height is h, the formula for h is half g t square, that is h is proportional to t square. Then if this total time is t, what is this total time? T by 2. If this height is h, this height will be h by 4. So this height will be h by 4. Then what will be the rest of the height? This is h by 4, rest of the height is 3h by 4. So what is the time taken by the combination of A and B to fall down? Time taken by the combination. Time taken by the combination is equal to root of 2 times height by g. This is the formula used. Root of 2h by g is to be used. Root of 2h by g is to be used. What is the formula? Time is equal to for A and B together equal to square root of 2 times height. What is the height? 3 by 4 h divided by g, and that is 2 cancels and you get root of 3 by 2 times h by g. So the answer is root of 3 by 2 times root of h by g. So answer in terms of the units of root h by g is root 3 by 2. Students, then answer is fourth option. See, this much lengthier the problem is, but it took this much of time because I explained every concepts. I never left any of the concepts that should be used here. So take care, and once again you watch this. If you are not able to follow this, you try to understand this. This concept is very important. Every numerical steps I have explained. Okay, next one, 11th one. Question number 11. A plain electromagnetic wave of frequency 25 gigahertz in vacuum along z direction, particular time in space, field is given by, magnetic field is given by 5 into 10 power minus 8 J cap Tesla. That magnetic field is along positive y axis and electric field is along what direction? The wave, electromagnetic wave is going along positive z direction. As you know, the equation for Ponting vector, that is E cross B by mu 0 is equal to P, where P stands for the Ponting vector. Ponting vector carries all the power of the electromagnetic wave. Okay, Ponting vector has the dimensions of intensity, nothing but power per unit area. That means the direction of the electromagnetic wave is given by the direction E cross B. Okay, that is E and B will give the direction of velocity. C is the velocity. I'm not writing it as an equation. This is the basic equation there. Now this can be used for simplifying this. If electric field is along what direction? Electromagnetic wave is along k cap. Magnetic field is along j cap. Okay, that means the cross product of E and B should give the direction of C. I'm not writing equal there. Okay, don't miss concept there. This is only arrow mark. Electric field should be in what direction to have the wave along z axis and field, magnetic field along y axis. For that we can use the cross product rule. For that easy method IJK cycle is used. You use this IJK cycle and by heart it. IJK. It indicates that I cross j equal to k, j cross k equal to I, k cross I equal to j. If you take any reverse order, that would assign a negative sign. That means I cross k is minus j, k cross j is minus I, so and so. Okay, so that you can make 6 independent relations there and practice it. This is very easy method to get into the answer. Now, this is j, this is k. Then what should be here? It should be I. Then I cross j equal to k. This is the one step used for solving this. Then I should be the answer. That means x-axis. That should be plus. This is plus. This is plus. Then this also must be plus. Take care if any minus comes there. So plus will be the answer. So A and D. The next one is very simple relation. E is equal to BC. E is equal to BC is to be used. Here then E is equal to BC. E is equal to B into C. 5 into 10 to the power minus 8 into 3 into 10 to the power 8. That means 5 into 3, 15. So the answer is dog. So two steps are there. One to get the direction, cross product rule. Other one E equal to BC. Okay. 12th one. Electron with initial velocity V0 I plus V0 j cap in electric field E0 k cap with minus sign minus E0 k cap. Lambda 0 initial de Broglie wavelength of electron. Then what is the final de Broglie wavelength? Chapter second year topic from modern physics, dual nature of radiation and matter regarding de Broglie wavelength. Everyone knows the formula for de Broglie wavelength. Lambda is equal to h by mv, where v is the speed. Here v is this much. Then what is that speed? H by m into what is the speed? Root of v naught square plus v naught square. Students, why I wrote like this? Because this v0 I cap is along x-axis, v0 j cap is along y-axis. So the resultant speed will be root of v0 square plus v0 square from Pythagoras theorem. Okay, and this is called lambda 0. That is mentioned as lambda 0. So lambda 0 can be written as h divided by root of v0 square plus v0 square is root of 2v0 square, taken out v0, then m times v0 root 2. And this is the formula for lambda 0. But that electron is placed in an external electric field minus E0 k cap. What happens an electron placed in external electric field? As electron has a negative charge, electron will accelerate against that electric field, okay, gaining kinetic energy. Then its velocity increases. What is the new velocity? The vector algebra tells that the final velocity is equal to v0 I cap plus v0 j cap is the initial velocity, final velocity. You can use kinematic equations. Why? Acceleration is a constant. Electrostatic acceleration is a constant here. So v equal to u plus at. So u means this one plus at. What is electrostatic acceleration? Q E by m. What is Q here? Charge on electron. What is the electric field here? E0. So Q E by m is the electrostatic acceleration times t. Okay, what is that direction? That is along k cap. So this unit vector is k cap. So these three velocities are in mutually perpendicular direction. Then what is the magnitude of that velocity? Root of vx square plus vy square plus vz square. That is square root of v0 square plus v0 square is 2V0 square, already we know, plus E square, E0 square, T square by M square. This much will be the final speed. Then what is the final de Broglie wavelength? Lambda is equal to h divided by m into final speed. What is the final speed? That is mentioned here. Okay. For that, you can take out this 2V0 square outside the root and write. That means V0 root 2. See students carefully. 2V0 square you bring outside. That becomes V0 into root 2 outside. Into inside the bracket what happens? 1 plus E square, E0 square, T square divided by M square is already there. You have to divide by 2V0 square there. That is 2V0 square. And this much will be the new de Broglie wavelength. That can be written as h by m V0 root 2 is already lambda 0. Then lambda 0 divided by 1 plus lambda 0 divided by square root of, whole square root is there, square root of 1 plus E square, E0 square, T0 square divided by 2m square, V0 square. So you can see the answer, which option? Square root. Oh, sorry, square root is there. Full square root is there. It was there, I forgot there. Then lambda 0 divided by root of 1 plus E square, E0 square, T square by 2m square, V0 square. The answer must be option C. So the third option is the correct answer. Very important questions based on modern physics. The next one, 13. A simple pendulum is being used to determine the values of gravitational acceleration at a place. Length of pendulum is 25.0 centimeter. A stopwatch of 1 second resolution, that means least count is 1 second, measures the time taken for 40 oscillations to be 50 seconds. The measured value is not length but the time. The measured value is time, and time for 40 oscillations is measured, that is 50 seconds is the measured value. What is the accuracy or least count? 1 second. Then what is the percentage error in measurement of time? Delta t by t is equal to 1 divided by 50. Okay, what is the percentage error in measurement of length? Delta L by L. What is delta L? It is given 25.0. 25.0 means the least count is 0.1 centimeter. Least count is 0.1 centimeter. Length is 25. Okay, then that is the percentage error in length. Then the value of acceleration due to gravity whenever you measure, g is equal to 4 pi square L by t square. The maximum percentage error associated with this g is as delta L by L plus 2 times delta t by t. And delta L by L is 0.1 by 25. To get answer in percentage, multiply by 100, don't forget, plus 2 times, what is delta t by t? That is 1 by 100. 1 by 50 multiply by 100. Then this 200, and here it comes what? 100 by 2, 4 comes here. 100 by 25, 4.4. So answer must be 4.4. Very clear, answer is C. Okay, question is from first year topic, units and measurements. The next one is 14. Question is asked from second year topic. This is from alternating current, AC. And also it is not clearly mentioned, every steps in NCERT is not mentioned, but we have taught our students about the transient state, describing about the transient state of an LR circuit. So growth and decay of currents in LR circuits, that is basically discussed here. Okay, anyway, the equation for writing current at any instant for an LR series circuit for transients. That means when you connect a DC source there, I is equal to I0 into 1 minus e raised to minus t divided by Tc, where Tc is called the time constant. Here Tc is the time constant of LR circuit, which is L by R. Time constant of LR circuit is L by R. Okay, what is asked here? What is the charge? What is the total charge that flows from the battery? Flows from the battery. Total charge that is flowing from the battery between t equal to 0 and t equal to Tc. That means in one time constant, what is the charge flown? That is charge flown integral formula is needed because the rate is not a constant. At every instant same amount of charge flows, then you should have used Q is equal to IT. Here you cannot use that. You have to go for integral formula because charge is not increasing steadily. So Q is equal to integral I dt, where I is I naught into 1 minus e raised to minus t by tc dt between 0 and tc. Very simple now. Only you need to integrate between the limits 0 and tc. Let us do this. That is equal to not space, that is why I am writing in the same line, that is integrating I0 dt, that will be I0 t minus I0 into, open the bracket and did this, e raised to minus x. What is the integral of e raised to x? It is e raised to x itself. That is I0 e raised to minus t by tc, but coefficient is there minus 1 by tc. So divided by minus 1 by tc, divided by minus 1 by tc. That minus comes here becoming plus 1 by tc in the denominator, that tc is to be lifted up here. So plus I0 tc raised to minus t by tc. The next step is, students, very important. Many students made mistake with this. We have to apply limits between 0 and tc. Therefore, the charge q is equal to supplying the upper limit I0 tc plus I0 tc into e raised to minus tc by tc is e raised to minus 1, that 1 by e. Okay, many students stop supplying the limits there because lower limit is 0. Okay, but here lower limit has some significance. When the lower limit is substituted, the first term becomes 0, but the second term appears there. Because you put t equal to 0, it becomes e raised to 0, that is 1. Okay, but you get minus I0 tc. This part prevails. E raised to 0 is 1, no doesn't matter, I0 tc is there. This much is needed. From that, I0 tc gets cancelled from plus and minus sides. Now, the charge is, what is the charge? Final answer, charge q is equal to, answer, I0 tc by e. What is I0? I0 is the maximum current. Maximum current. When maximum current flows in this circuit, when the circuit appears to have steady state. When there is a steady state, the maximum current flows, then there will not be any voltage drop across the inductor. That maximum current is decided by the value of resistance and also the EMF, that is I0 is equal to E by R from Ohm's law. In steady state, there is no drop across the inductor, so entire supply voltage is dropped across the resistor. Current I0 equal to E by R. That is Q is equal to I0 TC by E. That is E by R into TC is L by R. It is written here. TC is L by R divided by E. That is EL by R square E. EL by R square E. Students, you have to be very careful in answering because many options are confusing. ER by EL square. All of you do this work carefully and exactly, precisely, and get into the wrong answer. It is not good. Then answer is A. Hope that it is followed. Next one is 15. It's a very simple one. Electrostatics. Two charged metallic sphere S1 and S2, radii R1 and R2 respectively. Fields E1 and E2 are on surfaces of each, and the ratio of potentials on each sphere. Very simple one. We know the relation between field and potential, E is equal to V by R. Relation between field and potential at surface of a conducting charged sphere, E equal to V by R. Here we need the ratio of V. So V is equal to ER, that is V1 by V2 equals E1 by E2 into R1 by R2. But given E1 by E2 as, what is E1 by E2? E1 by E2 equals R1 by R2. That is R1 by R2 times small r1 by small r2 means capital R1 by capital R2 because radius is only mentioned. The distance itself is the radius. That is R1 by R2 all square. R1 by R2 all square. Be very careful. You know the answer R1 by R2 all square, then by marking you may give the wrong one because R1 by R2 all cube is also there. Okay, answer is box. Go to the next one, 16. A particle moves such that r is equal to cos omega t plus sin omega t j cap. Which of the following statements is true? Similar questions are basically asked for checking your knowledge of differential coefficients, if you know or not. That first r value is given there. First you get the velocity taking the first derivative. Cos omega t I cap you give minus omega sin omega t. Then sin omega t j cap first derivative is plus omega cos omega t j cap. Okay, observing very carefully, you can see this cos omega t I cap, cos omega t I cap here minus omega sin omega t I cap. There sin omega t j cap here plus omega t cos omega t j cap. If you take the dot product of these two, that will result 0. I will show that. See, omega you take out, that is cos omega t j cap minus sin omega t I cap. You take the dot product, you get what? This will become cos omega t I cap here minus omega sin omega t j cap. The other one sin omega t j cap, this one plus omega cos omega t j cap. That means these two are same. That means the dot product of V and R would be 0. You take dot product of R and V, you will get 0. That means V is perpendicular to R. You try to take the dot product of V and R. I shown now. Dot product 0, that means velocity perpendicular to radius. V is perpendicular to R. V is perpendicular. Oh, confusing. Two options are there. Now we have to check the direction of acceleration. For that you get second derivative of position. That means first derivative of velocity. That is, this omega is here. Omega into cos omega t derivative becomes minus omega sin omega t j cap minus sin omega t derivative omega cos omega t I cap. This omega once again you take out, that means omega square. A is equal to omega square into this sin omega t j cap. This both terms minus, so taken out, plus cos omega t I cap. That means cos omega t I cap plus sin omega t j cap is nothing but r. That is equal to minus omega square times vector r. So we got A is equal to minus omega square r. That means A is minus omega square r. That means if r is positive, A is negative. R means radius vector. Minus r means opposite to radius vector. Radius vector is like this. Then opposite to radius vector means inward. That means A is directed towards origin. So option D is very important. So students, you study once again. 17. Capacitor is made of two square plates, each of side A making very small angle alpha. This angle alpha is given to be very small. The capacitance will be close to. Okay, let us do based on this figure I have made before. These are the two plates, three-dimensional view. Each sides of the plates are A, square plates. Separation is D between the plates, but the upper plate is slightly lifted. Okay, what is the capacitance? That means the separation D is not a constant. Separation D is D here. As it moves from left to right, the separation increases. So it's not so easy. We have to go for integral steps. For that, we make into two strips there. Each strips are of width dx. Like this, I have shown using yellow color. Two strips. Okay, make into strip. That strip is at a distance x. Strip is at a distance x from one end This distance is x, is of width dx, it is of area dA. What is the area dA of each strips, each identical strips? dA is equal to area equal to length into breadth. What is its length? A, breadth dx, so A dx. Okay, what is the distance of separation for this? Distance of separation is D is up to here D, but this much is left. If this angle is mentioned as alpha and this distance is x, this is shown to be alpha x using angle equal to arc by radius, arc equal to angle into radius, so this is alpha x. Okay, therefore the capacitance formed by these two strips is given by dc is equal to epsilon 0 into area is a dx divided by distance of separation between that strips. Distance of separation between that strips is d plus alpha x. Students, everybody knows the formula for capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor as epsilon 0 a by d. This one is so popular one. The same only I applied here for that two strips. Epsilon 0 a dx by d plus alpha x. Okay, now we need to integrate between the limits x is equal to 0 and x is equal to a. X equal to 0 and x is equal to a. Between the limits x equal to 0 and x equal to a, that is c is equal to integral of epsilon 0 a dx divided by d plus alpha x between the limits 0 and a. Need not confuse between a and alpha. This is to be alpha. This is d, this is a, don't confuse. Now c is equal to epsilon 0 a is a constant, epsilon 0 a is a constant into 1 by d plus alpha x dx, 1 by d plus alpha x dx. We know integral 1 by x dx is log x. This is to be conducted. That is log x. Okay, log, what is x? X is d plus alpha x. D plus alpha x. Okay, so integral 1 by x dx is log x. Okay, but the coefficient of x is alpha. You have to divide by the coefficient of x. That x I am writing here, alpha, that is here because alpha is a constant. Coefficient of x is alpha, divide as the constant, I am writing it here. Between the limits 0 and a. Okay, how? C is equal to epsilon 0 a by alpha into log d plus alpha into, put x equal to a. Now I applied the upper limit. Don't forget to apply lower limit. This is the second case which is coming here. Minus, but upper limit already applied for this. Now lower limit, log d. What is that? When you apply lower limit, what comes there? Lower limit, x is equal to 0, so that does not come, only up to here. Is it clear? Now this much I can write, that implies epsilon 0 a by alpha into log x minus log y. Log x minus log y is log x by y, that is log d plus alpha a divided by d. Now we have integrated and supplied the limits. Epsilon 0 a by alpha, epsilon 0 a by alpha, epsilon 0 a by alpha, that is a, students, a by alpha log d plus alpha a by d. Okay, let me move to the next board for that. So C is equal to epsilon 0 a by alpha, epsilon 0 a by alpha into log, you can see that I am taking d by d 1 plus alpha a by d. So I am writing d by d as 1 plus alpha a by d. Hope that it is clear. Okay, now this should be the answer, but that is not there. But it is also given that alpha is too small. Therefore, you can use this expansion of log 1 plus x. You know the expansion log 1 plus x is equal to x square minus, x minus x square by 2 plus x cube by 3 minus x raised to 4 by 4, etc., etc. Here the value of alpha is too small, so x will be too small. X will be too small. As x is too small, the x cube, x raised to 4, x raised to 5, all that higher powers can be negligibly small. So we only adopt the first two terms, x minus x square by 2. What is x here? Here x is equal to alpha a by d. That means epsilon 0 a by alpha into log expansion. After expanding, I will write log 1 plus x is x minus x square by 2. X minus x square by 2 can be written as x into 1 minus x by 2. That is x into 1 minus x by 2. X means alpha a by d into 1 minus x is alpha a by d. Don't forget to write that 2 there. Okay, that is 1 alpha gets cancelled. So alpha a square by d into 1 minus alpha a by 2d. Okay, the answer is clearly in first option. That is the correct answer. Okay, solution you may see once again. It's very important. I described every concepts. Okay. 18. A particle of mass m charge q released from rest uniform electric field. There is no other force on the particle. Dependence of speed on distance r. In uniform electric field, a charge when released, it acted upon by electrostatic force. So it has constant acceleration. Acceleration is a constant, so you can use kinematic equation. 2 or 3 times today itself we have used it. Okay, then what is the formula for velocity as a function of position? You can use v square equal to u square plus 2as formula. That is v square is equal to u is 0 here, u 0 given rest 2 into a, that is qe by m, into s is x. Here qe by m, which is the electrostatic acceleration, is a constant, so v square proportional to x, so parabola. So answer is parabola, but the confusion students will get two options, two parabolas are there. In such situation, you carefully, the power of x is 1, so the parabola symmetric about the parameter whose power is 1 should be the answer. So which of these two parabolae is symmetric about x? It should be symmetric about x. It is symmetric about v. Option C symmetric about v. Option B symmetric about x. So answer is box. Students will confuse between B and C. Hope that it is clear. Now 19. A galvanometer having resistance 100 ohm, full scale deflection, magnetism. 1 milliampere is the value of Ig, full scale deflection current. What is the value of resistance which can convert the galvanometer to voltmeter to give full scale deflection? That means range of the converted voltmeter must be 10 volt. Use formula is R is equal to V by Ig minus G. That is, R is the resistance connected in series. This is the galvanometer. This is the resistance R. Okay, this combination will behave as a voltmeter. The range of the voltmeter is V, that is 10. Full deflection current is 1 milliampere, that means 10 power minus 3 ampere. Minus galvanometer resistance is 100 ohm, that is 10,000. This becomes 10,000 minus 100, that is equal to 9,900 ohm, that is 9.9 kilo ohm. So option D. Topic magnetism, conversion of galvanometer into voltmeter converted by connecting a high resistance R in series with G. Okay, 20. Next one is from fluid mechanics based on fluid pressure principles. Two liquids of densities ρ1 and ρ2. ρ2 is 2 times ρ1. That means the density second liquid will come down when they float upon one another. They are not mixed up. It is given that they are not mixing. Assume they are not mixing. Side of the walls 10 meter, so 5 meter, 5 meter each of that liquids. Okay, each liquid height 5 meter, and this will be tau rho 1, this will be rho 1. Highly denser will go down. Okay, that is also, the space also is important. If you wrongly write, you will get wrong answer. Ratio of forces, very important. Ratio of forces due to these liquids exerted on upper part Mn and lower part No. Upper part and lower part. So Fmn by Fno is asked. I have made the figure there. So Mn divided by Fno is equal to pressure into area. Pressure at the part Mn divided by pressure at the part No into area. Area of Mn divided by area of No. This is the equation to be used. Force equal to pressure into area. So we found force for the subsequent segments and took the ratio. That's all. Here, this is 5, this is also 5. So this is also 5, 5. So what is this area? Area, that area is 25. Similarly, this area is also 25. So these areas are same, so cancelled. Both areas are same. So Mn is equal to No. Cancelled. Do you know why it cancelled? These two areas are same. So no need of worrying about sides and areas. But in several other cases, these heights may not be same, where it may not be cancelled. Okay, that all you have to see here. Now, pressure at Mn. What is pressure at Mn? Pressure at Mn is the pressure exerted by the liquid of density rho 1, like this. That is pressure at Mn. Outward pressure at Mn is the pressure exerted by rho 1 alone. That is the pressure exerted by the liquid of density rho 1 at the sides. At all the sides, the pressure exerted is the average pressure. What is the average pressure? Average pressure is H rho g by 2. H5 rho 1 g by 2 is the pressure exerted at the section Mn. Is the only pressure exerted at the section Mn is that, because this is closed and also no atmospheric pressure. No atmospheric pressure happens there because it is closed. Now divided by pressure at No. Pressure at No. Similarly, the average pressure exerted there. Average pressure is only exerted by the liquid which comes in contact with that surface. See, that sentence is very important. The liquid which comes in contact with that surface is of density 2 rho 1. So what is the average pressure? That is 5. Height is 5. Height of the lower half also 5. Into density is not rho 1 but rho 2. Rho 2 is 2 rho 1, that is given into G divided by 2. But it is not yet over. Why? Because there is another liquid above this liquid. So this lower liquid is acted upon by the pressure exerted by the upper liquid also. But upper liquid does not come in contact with the lower half. That is why the entire pressure exerted, liquid pressure at the base of the liquid above is used there. So plus that pressures are to be added, which is H rho g alone, no need of writing by 2 there. H is 5. Which density is there? The liquid which exerts the base pressure is rho 1, not rho 2. That is why it should be rho 1. So if you write, a student write 2 rho 1, they are also made mistake, into G. This much is the answer. Okay, this you have to solve. This 2 and 2 cancels. Rho 1 G cancelled everywhere. And here 5 plus 5 becomes 10. So numerator there is a 5 divided by 2 into 10, that is 5 by 20, that is 1 by 4. Answer is 1 by 4, option D. Option D is the answer, 1 by 4. It's very important and simple, but some tricks are there. So anyway, I have told everything. Similar problems also, if the shape is cylindrical, whatever shapes you can solve based on this method. It's very good method. So we have done question number 20. So we have finished all the 20 questions which are single choice correct. Now we move to the integer type. 21 is the first integer type one. A ball dropped from top of 100-meter tower on a planet. In the last half second before hitting ground, it covers distance of 19 meter. Acceleration due to gravity near the surface on the planet is a ball dropped from the top of 100 meter. So ball is dropped from the top like this. Ball is here. So the surface of the planet is here. Surface of the planet is here. Ball falls down like this. Okay, from height h. H is the height. H is equal to 100 meter. Dropped, so u is equal to 0. In the last half second before it touches ground, last half second before it touches ground means maybe here it is not, figure is not scaled. Last half second means up here like this. Okay, this is the last half second distance, that is 19 meter. Okay, that is 19, this total is 100. From this you have to create two equations. Problem is from kinematics, first year. Now the first equation will be 100 is equal to half a t square is the first equation. S equal to ut plus half a t square, u is 0. Okay, 100 is equal to half a t square. Now the second equation is the equation for this displacement, and for this how many seconds are there? Half seconds. Half seconds. So how will you get this? From here to here the distance is half a t square. Okay, here to here the distance is half a t square. Okay, because here to here time taken is t. Okay, here to here time taken is half. Then what is the time taken here to here? T minus half. So what is the distance? Half a into t minus half square. Then what will be this distance? That is half a t square minus half a into t minus half whole square. That's all. Then you find t using solving these two equations and get t. If you get t, you substitute to get a. That's all. Okay, I will not do all the numericals. I will write that also. That is half a t square minus half a into t minus half whole square is equal to 90. So we have got two equations. Solve 1 and 2. How to solve 1 and 2? You eliminate a in second equation by substituting the value of a from first equation or something, or you divide both. You solve 1 and 2, then you get t is equal to 5 seconds. Of course, you get a quadratic equation and precisely you get the answer 5. Okay, I have checked it. The answer is 5. T is 5, but t is not asked. What is asked? Acceleration. Then for substituting, 100 is equal to half into a into 5 square, that is 25, and you get a as 8, and the answer is 8. The nearest integer is 8, so acceleration due to gravity near surface of that planet is 8 meter per second square. That is 21st one. Now we move to the 22nd one. 22nd, the first member of Balmer series of hydrogen atom has wavelength given. Wavelength of second member. Okay, as it is Balmer series of hydrogen atom, no need to worry about the first wavelength. You know all that steps. Let me show that in detail. This is the energy level diagram. In energy level diagram, this n principal quantum number 1, here n is equal to 2, here n equal to 3, then one more line is to be drawn there, which is n equal to 4. n is equal to 4. Balmer series, the first line is from 3 to 2. Second line is asked here. Second line of Balmer series is from 4 to 2. Balmer series has its second line from 4 to 2. Then we use the Balmer's empirical formula or Rydberg formula, both same. The formula is 1 by lambda is equal to, for transition from 4 to 2. For transition from 4 to 2, I am using 4 to 2 means second line of Balmer. 3 to 2 is first line of Balmer. 4 to 2 is second line of Balmer. That is 1 by lambda equal to r into 1 by 2 square minus 1 by 4 square. That is r into r into 1 by 4 minus 1 by 16, that is 3 by 16. So 3r by 16 is that. So lambda is equal to 16 by 3r, that is 16 by 3 into 1.1 into 10 raised to 7, that is 16 divided by 3.3 into 10 power minus 7. So we go for the answer like this. 16 by 3 is nearly, how much it comes? 3. Nearly it comes around 400, starting with 400, close to 500, like that it comes the value. 5 point something it comes, right? If it is 16 by 3, but it is 16 by 3.3, so it will be less than 5, okay, like that. Anyway, you divide and get into the answer, 486 nanometer. The answer is 486 nanometer. Okay, how to convert this? This is in meter, right? That is in meter. How to convert that into nanometer? For converting into nanometer, you do this. This is the simple method. Multiply by 10 power minus 9 and multiply by 10 power plus 9. Okay. Then you solve this 10 power minus 7 and 10 power plus 9. That implies, I'll write here, 16 by 3.3 into 10 power 9 and minus 7, it will be 2 into 10 power minus 9, 10 power minus 9, okay, like that. That is equal to nearly 486 nanometer, like this it will be. 10 power minus 9 can be written as nanometer. So this is the technique for getting into another unit. 23rd one. Series combination of two batteries, both of them EMF 10 volt, different internal resistances 20 and 5 ohm, connected in parallel connected to the parallel combination of two resistances 30 and R ohm. Voltage difference across battery of internal resistance 20 ohm is 0, value of R is. This is a modified from previous years. Okay, let me show the previous paper like this. The paper carries two cells of EMF, same but different internal resistances connected with a resistance R. If the voltage across the first one is V1 is equal to 0, if V1 is equal to 0, if V1 is equal to 0, which is V1 is equal to E1 minus IR1, V1 is equal to E1 minus IR1, that is V1 is equal to E1 is E minus I means 2E by R plus R1 plus R2 into R1. Okay, here if you put V1 is equal to 0, you may try, it's a previous question, okay, you got an additional question in bonus. V1 is equal to 0, you get E cancelled and you get capital R is equal to R1 minus R2, and this is the same problem what is asked here, only a modification from previous years. Okay, here but the problem is that here there are two cells connected like this, both are each 10 volt, but one 20 ohm, other 5 ohm in series with a resistance of 30 ohm and R ohm. These two are parallel. So this is 30 ohm and this is R ohm. So how to solve this here? You can easily solve by using this equation. That is, what is capital R means total external resistance. What is total external resistance? That is 30R by 30 plus R. R1, R2 by R1 plus R2. That is equal to small r1 minus small r2. R1 minus R2 is 20 minus 5, that is 15. Okay, you try, you will get R is equal to 30 ohm answer. Okay, so need not go for all this, you by heard this previous. So it is very, so this 23rd question itself clarifies that the importance of looking into previous papers. Every questions are modified ones. Okay, no completely new questions are born in GMains. Every questions are numericals. All questions are born from previous years papers. So it is very important to go through previous papers, and the one and only solutions that we that you are availing from in the internet freely is ours with complete solutions. We are discussing every aspects of each of these questions. We are not going in a hurry. We are telling every concepts. Okay, Then you try once again for watching this, and you can understand everything, and the ideas will be more clear. Okay, so stay with us with all the problems. Never skip any problems. Go through each and every problems. You will get all the steps, all the concepts clearly explained. Okay. Then next one, 24th one. 3 containers C1, C2, C3 have water at different temperatures. Table below shows the final temperature when different amounts of water given in liters are. Here also the previous one problem already discussed, that energy conservation. So sum of internal energies is to be taken. Total internal energy is the sum of internal energies. Then how to get the temperature? That is, the equation is used this: V1 T1 plus V2 T2 is equal to V1 plus V2 T. It's the general equation used, which is called the methods of mixtures. Basic principle of thermodynamics is on mixing few liquids in a container, or solid and liquids in a container, which is thermally isolated from surroundings. The no heat loss or gain from surroundings to our surroundings. Then the method of mixtures is used. This is the formula used. So this can be easily solved by looking into this data. How? First, mixing. These two are mixed. So this volume 1 liter, here volume 2 liter. That the first equation you get 1 into theta 1 plus, using this equation carefully you see, 2 into theta 2, that is equal to 1 plus 2 times theta. Theta is 60 degrees Celsius. That is equation number 1. Similarly, you go through the other lines. Other that also I would write. Here no liquid, here liquid is there. So 1 into theta 2 plus 2 into theta 3 equals 1 plus 2 into 30. That is equation number 2. Students, hope that it is very clear to you, and solve all that. How many lines you need to write, that write and solve it. Third one also I will write. 2 theta 1, you can also tell with me, plus 1 theta 3, don't make mistake, here no liquid there. So this is 1, this is 3. So 1, 3. That is equal to 1 plus 2 times 60. That is equation number 3. Okay, last one. 1 theta 1 plus 1 theta 2 plus 1 theta 3 equal to 1 plus 1 plus 1 times theta. That is equation number 4. Okay, anyway, you solve these 4 equations to get the answer theta as 50. Theta close to the nearest integer is 50. Now we move to the question number 25, the last one. An asteroid is moving directly towards the center of Earth when at a distance of 10 r, where r is the radius of Earth from Earth's center. It has a speed of 12 km per second. Neglecting the effect of Earth's atmosphere, what will be the speed of the asteroid when it hits the surface of Earth? Given the escape velocity from Earth's surface is 11.2 km per second. Give your answer to the nearest integer in kilometers. Okay, let this be our planet Earth, center of Earth O, radius r, the asteroid is approaching with speed u, and when it hits the surface, its speed may be v. In this process, the asteroid gains some kinetic energy at the expense of its potential energy. So the potential energy of the asteroid is lost, and that is converted into the change in kinetic energy. So the mechanical energy conservation is the basic principle used, and is asked from first year topic gravitation. These days many questions are seen already from chapter gravitation, so students, this chapter is to be kept very important one. Now the lost gravitational potential energy is equal to the gained kinetic energy. Why we can take that? Because it is given that the atmosphere is neglected, so there is no frictional forces due to air. So non-conservative forces are absent, then mechanical energy is conserved. So the basic principle is conservation of mechanical energy. Let us write down the mathematics here. That is half m, where m is the mass of the asteroid, into v square minus u square is the gained kinetic energy. That is equal to the lost potential energy. Potential energy of the system is highest when the asteroid is at the height, and that is minus g m divided by 10r, where 10r is the total distance between center of Earth and the asteroid. In all central force problems, the radial distance should be the distance between the centers of gravities, minus the potential energy at the surface, which is minus gmm divided by r. Now you can cancel small m, where small m is the mass of the asteroid, capital M mentioned is the mass of the planet Earth. Here half times v square minus u square. V square is asked, square of v is the speed with which it hits the surface. U is given 12 km per second, square of which is 144, and that is equal to minus g m divided by 10r into 1 by 10. That can be written as gm by r into 1 minus 1 by 10. Minus is taken inside, gm by r into 1 minus 1 by 10. That is gm by r times 1 minus 1 by 10 is 9 by 10. That is half times v square minus 144 equal to gm by r into 9 by 10. That is v square minus 144 is equal to 2 gm by r times 9 by 10. Students, you know the formula for escape velocity from the surface of planet Earth as v escape is equal to root of 2 gm by r, where m is the mass of the planet Earth. Then 2 gm by r mentioned here should be the square of escape velocity. That is why it can be written v square is equal to 144 plus 2 gm by r is 11.2 into 11.2. That means 2 gm by r is square of 11.2, which is the escape velocity from surface of Earth, into 9 by 10, and only this calculation is left. You get v square is equal to 256 and v is equal to 16. Then the answer would be 60 kilometer per second. With that, the 25 questions of this shift, second shift, January 8, 2020 G Mains is over. Best of luck, all of you. Study well. Thank you.